Today's episode is sponsored by Amatrol, the global leader in online career and technical education courses. Visit them at amatrol.com.
Aerospace and defense manufacturing.
Machines and automation.
Additive manufacturing.
Smart manufacturing.
The global manufacturing economy.
Welcome to Advanced Manufacturing Now, the podcast for manufacturing professionals, powered by SME. From the design screen to the shop floor to final assembly, we drive the conversation about making manufacturing smarter by connecting people who are passionate about manufacturing.
Hello, and welcome to Advanced Manufacturing Now, the podcast for manufacturing professionals. I'm your host, Steve Plum, Editor-in-Chief for SME Media. I'm joined today by Kent Powell, Vice President of Global Sales for Amatrol, which specializes in technical learning systems. Its products are used by thousands of colleges, industry training centers, and high schools throughout the U.S. and the rest of the world. Kent has been with Amatrol for about 18 years and previously worked for Rockwell Automation. Welcome to the program, Kent.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
So before we get started, could you tell us a little bit about Amatrol and your role there?
Sure. We've been in business for about 40 years. Actually started in 1965, way before then, building custom machines, which took us into working with industry clients that really were trying to address the skills gap even way back then. That enhanced our ability to build equipment to train people on the manufacturing skills that they needed to close that skills gap. And that evolved into us building training equipment, writing curriculum, aligning our content with certification organizations to really help close the skills gap today. You know, it's interesting. 40 years ago, we have the same problem then that we do now. We were dealing with electrical and mechanical apparatus and those skill gaps. Today, we have the same shortage, with the exception that now there's smart manufacturing technologies that we also need to address. So the skills gap is still there. We're still addressing that, but in a variety of new technologies as well.
But as you mentioned, the industry has changed a lot, even though there's still some of the same issues with skills, which is probably only intensified in recent years. Smart manufacturing is, the terminology has been around for a while now. In fact, we have a magazine called Smart Manufacturing. But I know everybody kind of identifies and describes it a little bit differently. How would Amatrol define smart manufacturing?
Well, I guess we would define it as applying current technology, modern technology, smart sensors, data analytics, augmented reality, AI, machine learning, combining all those into a manufacturing environment that helps to really reduce downtime, streamline the production process, and enhance the overall productivity of the manufacturing experience.
You mentioned a few key buzzwords like artificial intelligence, machine learning. What are some of the latest trends in smart manufacturing that companies should be aware of and have to plan for?
Good question. The big buzzword recently is the Internet of Things, the industrial Internet of Things. And really what that is, that's connecting machinery and equipment through sensors and networks to collect and analyze data. That then gets you over to the AI and the machine learning, where AI and machine learning take large data sets to optimize production process. They analyze it to optimize production processes. And what that does is that really helps improve decision-making, whether it's part of that process or whether it's a human making the decision. So with smart manufacturing, collecting all this information and then being able to act very quickly on that information really improves productivity. It reduces through preventative maintenance, reduces downtime, and enhances the ability for somebody to get their job done in a very efficient, flexible way.
Obviously, it doesn't come free in terms of cost, time, effort, but there are long-term benefits to invest in smart manufacturing technologies, and not just from the company standpoint, but also employees themselves.
Absolutely. So if you think about it, if you go to work and you do the same thing every day, you get in a rut and you just wonder, gee whiz, is this really what I want to do? interestingly enough, with smart manufacturing environments, it's constantly changing, constantly enhancing. And the people that were doing those mundane jobs now, through professional development, are learning new skills. They're learning how to analyze information. They may be learning how to program or how to decipher a program. So it gets down really to employee retention. So think about this. If you work for an employer who's investing in you and in helping you enhance your skills, oftentimes there's a loyalty there that will provide longevity in the workforce at that manufacturing facility. So it kind of goes both ways. Investing in equipment is one thing. Investing in your greatest asset, which is the human capital, is another thing that play off each other.
And it may come a little bit more easily for the next generation of employees coming through the workforce, but even people with 10, 20, 30 years under the belts need to embrace this process. So how are our companies, organizations like Amatrol, helping to ensure that the current workforce and the next generation are equipped with the right skills to make the best use of these technologies?
One of the things that Amatrol does is we surround ourselves with people in the know. So technical colleges, universities, industry folks, manufacturers that are actually deploying this new technology. We partner with them to really understand what are the competencies that need to be taught and how do you teach those competencies through development of training materials, development of curriculum, assessments, and real-world devices that can teach those skills. So the partnerships go a long way. Our ability to build the equipment, we've been doing that for many, many years, and we use industry-relevant components, people like Fanuc Robotics, people like Siemens and Rockwell Automation. But we also partner with industry certification companies that kind of help set the standard, the basic pass-fail level for does somebody know and understand and can do this skill or not. People like, or organizations like PMMI, MSSC, Manufacturing Skills Standards Council, the Smart Automation Certification Alliance, SACA, they create these certifications, and what Amatrol does is we align our training curriculum and our equipment to meet the standards of those very rigid or very robust, I should say, certification organizations. And when manufacturing organizations and schools put their students through that content and achieve that basic level, that certification, it goes a really long way in hiring the right people to do the job in the manufacturing sector.
Yeah, I think industry partnerships are vital on a number of fronts, especially training. One of the partnerships you didn't mention was your relationship with Sesame. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So Sesame is one of the 17 manufacturing innovation institutes around the U.S. We actually partner with many of them. We partner with LIFT and Sesame and Samani and MXD and others. Our relationship with Sesame really grew out of a need to answer what's going on in smart manufacturing. So it was a strategic effort between both of us to really address the needs of smart manufacturing. And the outcome of that is a piece of training equipment, the Smart Manufacturing Learning System, that teaches the concepts around smart manufacturing, sensors, edge computing, the Internet of Things. And we designed that in cooperation with Sesame to teach their membership how to apply smart technologies to an old manufacturing situation as well as a brand new greenfield project.
How long has that effort been going on? And especially when you're talking about a greenfield project, how does that differ from an existing facility?
So we've had a relationship with Sesame, gee whiz, it was right after COVID. We have known of each other for many, many years, and we finally got to a point in, I think, 2021, maybe it was late 2020, that we just came together. We both recognized the need. They had the vehicle through their membership and their association to get information into the hands of small and medium manufacturers, and we had the capability to create the training equipment and create the content and for them to present to their membership. So interestingly enough, they do a lot of work with medium to small manufacturers who can't afford just to gut their plan and put new, robust automation, robotics, PLCs, sensors, networks in. They have the equipment that they have. What we're doing together is teaching them how to enhance their manufacturing processes by attaching smart sensors through Ethernet networks and edge computing devices to collect the information and then take that data, analyze it, and make better decisions. From a greenfield perspective, we're working with a lot of folks in the semiconductor business right now. They're building new plants, and all those new plants have new technology. They're all state-of-the-art, and they're using the exact same technology that we're using in the small to medium manufacturers that are using old equipment. They're just doing it, from scratch with brand new state-of-the-art technology. So the smart manufacturing applications work in both environments, and the device that we created with Sesame works in both of those environments to teach the basic fundamentals of smart manufacturing.
And you mentioned, partnering with some equipment manufacturers like Fanuc and Rockwell. So as operators are learning new pieces of equipment, whether it's a CNC system or something else, they're also learning the smart manufacturing side of it and how to interact with the data at the same time.
Absolutely. So we start out, we've got learning systems that start out with the very basics: AC/DC electricity, basic pneumatics, how to use, believe it or not, how to read a ruler and use a dial caliper. But then we layer that learning with more complex concepts and topics that we can introduce to the students. So then we get into, when we introduce the Internet of Things, we introduce students and learners to what is the Internet of Things and give them examples and go through some hands-on examples of actually applying a smart sensor through a cloud computing device to be able to look at data and make decisions and analyze and so on. So there's a number of learning systems, from a miniature manufacturing work cell that we produce to a robotic collaborative robotic work cell that moves things around. And it with all that technology, it enables us to show the learners how we can collect the data, analyze that information, make decisions, and really improve the throughput of that manufacturing system and many times increase the quality of the product that's being produced.
So where is the industry overall in terms of adopting the Internet of Things? Obviously, larger organizations, I would imagine, would be further along.
Yeah, that's true. So interestingly enough, we're seeing the Internet of Things and smart manufacturing manifest itself in not only manufacturing, but believe it or not, HVAC and refrigeration. So we see it in process instrumentation technology. So it used to be you had a valve or a device in a process situation that was either on or off. Well, with smart manufacturing, now that can all be controlled with motorized valves and smart devices that can be controlled over a network. All that information can then be fed back into the data analytics engine to make decisions and enhance the process. We're seeing it at the very large end when we're building a new silicon chip manufacturer plant, but we're also seeing it in the medium to small companies that have been around for a long time. So here in Kentucky, I'm actually live in Kentucky. I work in Indiana, but Kentucky's known for bourbon. Well, Jim Beam Distillery right down there the road in Bardstown in Claremont, Kentucky, they have their old process and they're putting in a new bottling line. The Internet of Things is all over that new bottling line. but they're also taking that technology and moving it to the old bottling line. They just aren't ripping out all the old stuff. They're simply adding sensors to collect information. Now, the new bottling line is probably going to be a lot more efficient in the long run, but the new bottling line can be enhanced with this new technology as well.
Well, one of the great things about the manufacturing industry is you are able to utilize equipment for 10, 20, 30, even 50 years. And is there a threshold of what an equipment or a bottling line needs to have to adopt some of these techniques and technologies to move to smart manufacturing?
Well, so if the production line, let's call it, is using programmable logic controllers or a DCS system or something like that, that's industry 3.0, right? That's a computer that's actually controlling the process. Simply connecting smart sensors to that process will enhance the ability for the smart manufacturing process to take place. So there's not very many places anymore that are not using some type of computer-controlled system in their production or manufacturing processes. If you run into a situation where it's just relay control, it's difficult to actually enhance that with smart manufacturing technology, but it could be done.
So we've been talking mainly about within a single plant, but there are also opportunities to embrace and utilize smart manufacturing across facilities, including globally. I know you work in a number of different countries. Have you seen this take shape, and how does that look where your North American facilities may be looking at working with their counterparts in Europe or Asia?
So we work with a lot of large manufacturers that are worldwide manufacturers, and even though the culture is different across the pond, even though their technical standards may be slightly different and their processes may be slightly different, information is information. So a lot of that has to do with supply chain. A lot of the manufacturing sites overseas are supplying the U.S. manufacturer, even though it's the same company, with assemblies or sub-assemblies. So being able to have that flow of information through their company network enhances their ability to, for just-in-time inventory or to schedule their production or their planned downtime. So there is a lot of enhanced communications going on overseas, without a doubt.
So as you go into a new customer, a new organization you haven't worked with before, how do you go about assessing their current capabilities, both in terms of what they have and regarding smart technologies, edge sensors, as well as what they need to do from a training standpoint?
Well, there's a lot of work there. There's different levels of technology at different levels in the plant. So you've got the folks that are the operators, and then you've got the folks that are technicians, and then the engineers, and then the strategic planners. Those are different skill sets altogether. One of the things that we do, and we typically work in the technician and operator area. We will interview and talk to a lot of people that are doing a lot of different jobs to truly understand what are the competencies that they have to be able to perform at a very high level. We can then align that with the content that we've already created, and if there's a concept or a task, a job task that we don't have content for, of course, we could create that. But we do a lot of work with understanding what is the set of competencies that these individuals need, and then we can put together a training program to help assess and see where they are lined up with those competencies, and then we can put a training plan together to just train them on the gaps. We don't want to spend time training somebody on something they already know. They lose focus and they get bored with it, and then they don't understand, why are we doing this? But if we can assess somebody and find out based upon this criteria, you're supposed to know these things and be able to, understand and do these skills. We can identify what those gaps are. Then we can train specifically to those gaps and have a better employee in a shorter amount of time.
I know it's different from company to company, even possibly from worker to worker, but what are some of the main challenges that you face when you go in and try to help the companies move to the next step level?
Well, one of the classic things is we'll walk in and the company, they know they need to train their people, but they need PLC technicians, so they want to train everybody. They want to train these 6 people to be PLC technicians. So you have to kind of back into that. So first of all, what do they know about control? What do they know about logic? And if the answer is they don't know that, well, then what do they know about electricity, AC/DC electricity? What do they know about sensors? And if they don't know that, that's where we have to start. You can't just start teaching someone PLC programming and expect they're going to be able to run the plant. So there's a lot of investigative work that has to go on the very front end to understand really where are we. So it's interesting. We were doing a job with General Motors with their global director of training, and they came to town to look at some training equipment that they wanted to use for pre-employment assessment. And I asked the guy, I think his name was Bill, I said, Bill, why are you doing this now? Why are you buying this equipment now? We've known you for 10 years. He said, well, believe it or not, I spent $9 million last year hiring the wrong people. So what he's doing is now he's assessing people for those competencies and skills before he hires them. We have a process to help companies do that, to help people do that. We do it at the community college and university level, but we do a lot more of it in the industry sector with their human capital, helping them figure out what are the skill gaps and then putting a training program together to address those skill gaps.
What they know and what they don't know.
Exactly.
So I imagine it's not just a one-time only, that it's very important to continuously train and relearn new things.
Continuous learning is huge. If you just take a look at what's going on the plant floor today, it's moving at a very fast rate of speed. The deployment of technology today is just frightening compared to where it was years ago. There's another piece to this continuous learning thing, though. And it gets back to job satisfaction and retention. If we're continuously teaching and enhancing the workforce by upskilling and teaching them new things, it's a great opportunity for them to understand that you're making an investment in their professional growth. And that provides them the loyalty that the company needs to be able to invest in the hardware solutions and the software solutions moving forward as they increase their productivity.
I know the partnership with SESME is still fairly new, but have you started to see some real-world benefits?
We sure have. We've been a member with SESME about 3 years or so. So that helped us get closer to some of the other manufacturing innovation institutes, and it's also brought us a lot closer to those medium and small manufacturing companies. So there's a group of folks called Manufacturing Extension Partners, and they do a lot of work in their states and in their regions to reach out to small and medium manufacturers. We're actually working with a lot of those MEPs to teach them those smart manufacturing technology skills so that they can go preach the gospel, if you will, to their clientele. So it's really gotten us a lot closer to that sector of the manufacturers, medium to small businesses that want to do better. They're still scrapping for the same employees that the big companies are scrapping for, so they need to improve their operational efficiencies as well. So SESME has put us in touch with many of those companies, and we're just thrilled to death to be able to help them see what that technology can do for them personally.
So what would you say to the small and mid-sized companies that may have had some success in the past and they've been doing well for a number of years, and they say, we understand, but we just don't have the time or money to invest in these new programs. and we're happy with what we have right now.
Well, I would say that if they're happy where they are right now, there will come a time where they will be surpassed. It's just a matter of time. We've been manufacturing equipment here for about 40 years, and we know that we have to invest in new technology, autonomous robots, laser cutting machines. We actually purchased a machine not long ago that is a CNC-operated tube cutter. Believe it or not, that thing really does exist. But it brought our efficiencies to a point, and we're a small business, we're a small manufacturer, but it brought our efficiency to building the frames that we hang the equipment on. It cut our manufacturing time almost in half, being able to do it with a lot more efficiency and automate that process as opposed to actually having to hand cut and saw and deburr and weld and bring all that stuff together. So we're practicing that ourselves as a small company. We're investing in technology to reduce downtime, to help us understand, where the pinch points are, so that it will help us reduce downtime and increase efficiency, and ultimately help us grow our capacity.
How important is it to share, case studies and real world success stories like that to help convince these companies that it's good for them as well?
I think it's extremely important. The problem we run into is that a lot of our manufacturing partners don't want anybody else to know what they do. So it's really kind of tough. So we do a lot of work right now in the electric battery and electric vehicle manufacturing. Just trying to figure out what they need is very difficult because they don't want to give us the recipe to the secret sauce. If you take a look at whether you're making silicon chips or whether you're making electric batteries or electric vehicles, the manufacturing processes are about 80% the same in that business as they are in a pickle manufacturing company or a bottling plant or a distillery. 80 to 85%, electricity is electricity. Hydraulics is hydraulics. What's different is how do they use that technology to build what they build. So doing a case study on an electric battery plant is probably not going to happen anytime soon because they're very secretive about the processes that they deploy and how they actually use the technology to build their product. So there are some, for instance, we work with a very large retail manufacturer, Target. Target has been very open about their training program and how they do what they do and how they're teaching their technicians, and they're very successful at it. And then there are other people that are other companies that they're very secretive about it, and it's really tough to do a case study with them.
Yeah, I think the importance of benchmarking, not only internally, but across the industry is very important.
It is. Well, and Steve, that's something that Sesame really does for us. It puts us in a room with other like-minded people that are willing to share their experiences with that group. So being part of Sesame has really enhanced our ability to talk with people about doing a case study and really how are they deploying the technology and what have they run into that really kept them from being more efficient about that. So being part of Sesame has really enhanced our ability to reach out and communicate with people.
Sure. So what's next for Amatrol? What are some of the things that you're going to be focusing on the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, it has to do with artificial intelligence, virtual reality. We're working on virtual reality trainers. Not everybody can put their hands on a piece of equipment. So virtual reality and augmented reality are two things that are really a big deal. We're going to continue to enhance our smart manufacturing footprint by adding new enhanced technologies as they emerge, whether it's a vision system or another smart sensor or an edge computing device. So I think you'll see more from us in that arena, but definitely augmented reality and virtual reality they're in the pipeline. They're coming your way soon.
I look forward to hearing more about it. Thanks for joining us, Kent. Very informative. A hot topic and something that's not going to go away anytime soon. It'll just become more important. Appreciate your time talking to us today. If listeners want to learn more about Amatrol and some of the initiatives you're working on, where should they go?
www.amatrol.com.
And to learn more about the latest manufacturing trends and hear more of our podcast, visit advancedmanufacturing.org.